just be. Hey. Oh, good to see you, man. Good to see you. Yeah, I think I'm good to go. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Make this thing work. I like to put all the laughs and doubters. It's a shame. That's not gonna stop. One more way. That's not gonna work. You went golfing yesterday? You too? You did? Okay, how was that? Really? All right. Oh, we've learned from years past. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You can golf. Which, which PDC was this that you went to and you played at? Arizona. Okay, yeah, Scottsdale. Yeah, Yeah, that one. That was an amazing course. One that we typically couldn't get on. It cost way too much money. Here we go. Booyah. Booyah. Look at this. I'm gonna show you ingenuity at its best or at its worst. One or the other. Nah, it's made for a GoPro, but we're gonna make that work just like that. That's ingenuity right there, I guess.
If that doesn't work, try and put it in front of the projector.
Or I have a tripod also.
What? You carry one around?
Yeah, isn't that odd?
It's not. It's not, and it's very innovative. And you know what? I am gonna borrow it for this session. You are amazing. Do you live stream or do you do?
No.
No?
No.
You be doing selfies and stuff?
She said, I don't need it. I was like, yeah, I'll take it. And then when come up
Uh-oh.
here, I was like,
I literally brought my wrong one with me. I'm like, oh, I'll make it work for what it is. I was like, I can make it work.
I get it now.
yeah. More open and friendly and stuff. I think I think just because I said how I think breaking that we're chasing the hair, basically.
Mhm.
Right, that we're not all fitting into that mold. We're more diverse, I mean. And so you get that atypical, that, that non-social or,
Because my supervisor, he's very, very short,
Uh-huh.
and then like goes back in his office,
Yeah.
and then comes out and like,
Come on in, take a seat, take a seat.
back in his office.
We are getting ready to get started.
And then he tries to be social. It's
Oh, really? Yeah. Yeah, I have had managers that just didn't have any.
What time you got? 9:28. Could be wrong if I got started. A little bit. Not at all.
He been around a while.
60.
Yeah, he been around a while, probably that's.
Oh.
It's not fair to ask people who are here already.
Hey, look, didn't we all have those pop quizzes when you were back in school? That the teacher would come in, the professor would come in class and say, "Hey, if you're not here, raise your hand." All right, pop quiz, roll. That was a pop quiz for the day. You know, or they'd come in right at like what, 16 minutes or 17 minutes, knowing people are leaving 15. So it happens. It's life.
We are gonna have some of both, you know what I'm saying? And everybody has some of both, but I was almost half and half, but more extrovert. But I think that's the kind they're hiring now, people with their own, with a personality, not just looks.
Hey, see.
We kind of fall back when we have to.
All right.
And I'm the only one.
We're gonna go get started. I guess some more people are trickling in. I promise you, it's gonna take the entire time. But in a good way, in a good way. So, I wanna welcome you guys. Diversity and exclusion. You're not the only, when you're the only one at the table. All right? Let me ask this real quick. What led you here to come see this topic? Because this is one, like when you saw this topic, you saw the title on there, what led you here to come see it right here? What made you come to this?
Well, I feel like I'm the only one at the table sometimes, and I don't know how to navigate being the representative for all people.
But you are though, right? So, I'm gonna go through this real quick, just kind of give a little bit of introduction for you. So, just to let you know what we're gonna talk about today, we're gonna go through what's called perceived ethnic discrimination, inflection points, microaggressions, generational differences, communication barriers, and then gender biases. Like I asked, what brought you here today? So you know, wanted to start this off. I am not a psychologist, and you're gonna see that in there as well. But it's that piece of, this is a great topic to have, and a lot of HR departments will not touch it. All of us that have HR training, but they ain't about to touch some of the stuff we're really gonna get into. They might give you one for the year, ethics training and all that. So what I've learned from NSBE, been in NSBE, good guy, over probably like 25, almost 30 years in NSBE. And what I've learned is when we come to these conferences, it's a rejuvenation period. You go to one of these things, this ain't your affinity group at work, this ain't that family cookout. And so I wanted to do this topic because it's one of those things that I know that if I've experienced it in my career, and I've seen people that my co-workers and counterparts, they're experiencing it, I want to make sure that it's one of those topics that we all kind of just maybe in a room together we can figure. All right. So just to give you a little bit of background on me, to see who I am. Like I said, been in NSBE over 20 years. My biggest piece of NSBE is always, I only joined NSBE for one reason. Back in college, and it was because I love volunteering. I love being able to inspire the next generation, whether it's PCI, our pre-college initiative, or if it's our collegiate students. What you'll learn about me, just to let you know, I believe in the pipeline. The reason you're the only one at the table is because there are people ahead of you that did not bring more people to the table. So there's a reason for that, and that's why I saw NSBE, and I challenge all my other organizations, ASC, IEEE, I challenge all of them to show me where in their mission it is to bring more diversity to the table. Love Suite, I'm a member of that as well, but again, more representation of us at the table, and it's a reason for it. Another piece of me, I'm in construction, general contracting. I've been in it over 20 years, do it all a lot. Right now I'm in Charleston, South Carolina, down that way, finishing up a big project down there, the MUSC Children's Hospital project, and then I'm about to start the International African American Museum. We just got funding on Wednesday. Beat down the city council, man. Ooh, tell you, man, city council ain't nice. Down there playing with their money. So we're about to start that one. So that's just give you a little bit of background of where I'm at. If there's no room, I got some chairs I can give you, or you can stand in the back. Uh-oh, somebody knocked my camera down? Is my camera?
Camera's not set up.
What? Not worried about it. All right. So just to kind of point it out for, like I said, in construction, general contracting, been doing it for a while. It really doesn't sit on it. It just kind of sits on top of it. It's all right. Oh, were you the one that knocked it down? Oh, you should feel bad. I gotta prove to my job that I was here doing something, you know. I ain't gonna get this comp time. Let you know, went to North Carolina A&T State University, civil engineering, then I went to Keller Graduate School of Management, master's in project management, a whole bunch of other certifications, all the little initials behind your name, all that stuff. This ain't what this about. This ain't that session. This ain't technical. And then let you know, also did 8 years in the United States Army. I'm also in Iraq. Iraq and Operation Enduring Freedom veteran back in 2002. It's funny enough, they pulled me out of A&T, went there my second semester, and ended up overseas where I got the best tan of my life. But the reason we're here, this is funny. And what led me to do this was one of my friends pointed this out to me on my Instagram page. Look in that room. And that's what drove me to this title, because then I realized that I literally am sometimes the only one at the table. And this is just a small focus group of some of our construction management. we have groups up to 40 and 50 people, and I might be the only one at the table. And it's so funny that sometimes you get so comfortable in those circles that you forget, and you're always battling and all that kind of stuff. And so it just kind of drove me to that topic, and I think that's probably what brought most people here. So I mentioned it. I'm gonna let you know now. I am not a licensed psychologist. I don't have a psychologist. I consider my pastor and my mom to be my psychologist, and sometimes my sister. And I have nothing but facts to give you, and it's that piece of everything we have in here today. Again, like I said, for Nesby, is I've learned over the years, us coming together in a room together is a rejuvenation period. This is something that, again, HR can't give you. Whatever your affinity group back at work is, where you're complaining about the food in the cafeteria, and they did, Cinco de Mayo 5 days straight, but they ain't do nothing African American week. Or, all soul foods African American during Black History Month. This ain't that. So that's why we're here together to kind of laugh and talk about it together. And if you can't tell, I do a lot of jokes. I don't like being serious to the point of, people are losing their mind. So, let you know again, this is a safe space. All right? These walls, nothing in here is gonna go back to your job. Nobody's gonna get in trouble. Ain't nobody reporting you. So we can be as honest as we wanna be. I call this kind of like the family cookout or the family reunion. All right? Anything in here we talk about, don't worry, I don't work for none of y'all. I'm in construction. Ain't none of y'all. Anybody in here in construction? Oh, got 1, 2, okay. Other than y'all two, don't go report me to nothing. I work for a small minority-owned company. We're only 30 people tall, and believe it or not, we ain't got no HR department. So I ain't worried about it. I report directly to the president. So it's just want you to know, safe space. Anything we talk about, feel free, feel open. Look, don't hold back. All right. Let you know too. Like I said before, you ain't crazy. You knew you're an African American when we get your job when somebody brought in some church chicken. You knew you were upset. You ain't crazy. The topic that I said for the series is real. What we're going to talk about is some real things that you go through at work that I'm telling you ain't crazy. You know what is crazy though? When I saw this on TV, I was really upset. Have you ever seen this movie?
Yeah.
That's crazy. All right. Anybody here done that? Tell on yourself. Ladies, okay.
Not you.
Whoa. Not the first time. And so what we're going to talk about is kind of what's called inflection points. So we're going to talk about topics and kind of lay it out for you. So an inflection point, which y'all in math, basically is the point between a convex and concave graph. It's where something automatically changes and there's a switch in whatever the situation is. That's just mathematical terms. I ain't going no deeper because somebody's going to check me on it. But in business, in your everyday life, there are also what I want to call inflection points, where there's points in your life that something all of a sudden went up for the good, and you didn't see it, but it was about to go down for the bad, or you were down on the bad, and you never saw when it actually came over for the good. And so that point in between is that piece of showing you that there are inflection points in life, and that's where all these slides are going to reference back to. But in business, you know what company had a real good inflection point? And I realized when I gave this presentation to some of my younger coworkers, they didn't know what Enron was. So, date yourself in here. You know what Enron is. Understand there's a generation that was born in the 90s that they don't know what that is. So, Enron company, huge mega company. Basically, the company was doing so well back in 2000, 2001, and then all of a sudden, in one quarter, they went bankrupt. And come to find out, they were doing all kinds of bad business practice. A lot of the Security and Exchange Commission's rules are based on stuff that Enron did. But lo and behold, it wasn't fixed because then the banks did it in 2008 and all that good stuff. So inflection point for them, which is kind of funny, their inflection point, what they did have an end was possibly when the company went upside down and then all kinds of indictments went out. Another one that you could actually relate to is Toys R Us. Imagine this in Toys R Us. Somebody in that boardroom knew they were failing and failing and failing after year, but they ignored the signs of that inflection point when you thought the company was doing great, and all of a sudden, it just took enough time. Sears, what are all these other companies that are now just out to go out, Barnes and Nobles, bookstores, all these things. So those are those inflection points where it went down. One that went up, Google. Back in 2001, I wish I would have went on and bought the stock when it was only like $43. And I'm sitting in my dorm room like, man, I love some of that stock. But at the time, nobody thought Google was going to be anything because it was just, you just thought it was it. I'll date myself as well. I used to love that jingle. But back in 2001, 2, and 3, it was somewhere right around there, Google stock went up. And you know when that was? When they bought YouTube. Google bought YouTube, and it exponentially shot its growth up. And then from there, it just kept purchasing more stuff. to where now the stock, I think, is like, what, $1,200 a share? Who in here, who got Google stock? I need to get with you after this. You trying to sell? You got bear shares and all that. Let's do this. So we're going to talk about inflection points, and it's going to kind of tie some of that back in. We're also going to do what's called group voting and kind of like discussions on some of this stuff. And some of these topics, they might get a little touchy and they're going to make it a little edgy. So some of them I might put the timer on for us. And what we're going to do is do like a 5-minute discussion. And if we need to, we can take a vote in the group and we can add an additional 2 minutes. Yeah, it sounds crazy. I know. But it's gonna, if we have to, we'll put the timer on and we'll kind of make that part of the discussion. And I'll also share, if you share your story, let's be, somebody said I was, what's like the insights? If you're an insights evaluation, like a DISC assessment, there's another one called insights. It's like they told me I'm gonna be bold, be brief, be gone, kind of thing. It's gonna be crazy. And shocking. But when you give your story, let's just try to get there, kind of get to the point. It's gonna be emotional. I promise you there's gonna be some emotional people in here. Try to connect to it and see what comes out of it. All right? And if you got, and this is an open discussion, like I said before. If you got questions, please raise your hand. You got a comment, just say it out loud, feel good about it. All right? And we're gonna be respectful too. All right? Throw that out there. All right, here we go. Buckle up, all right, guys? I love Jimmy Fallon, by the way. Tonight's show is great. So just want to let you know we're about to go in. Stay with me, and yeah, feel free to kind of express your opinion. All right. So there is a condition called perceived ethnic discrimination. It is a real study, so much so that the Department of Health and Science and the Department of Health and Human Services brought it up, and there's an actual study on it. The study of it basically shows that, remember I told you you ain't crazy? When you think somebody at work is discriminating against you, guess what? They probably are. It ain't you're not crazy. I'll keep saying this, you are not crazy. And everything at your job and everything you do teaches you to do something different. Teaches you to advert that, or hey, they said something about me. Oh, they said something crazy. Oh, you know what? I'm gonna ignore it. I'm just gonna, I ain't gonna pay attention to it. Well, this perceived ethnic discrimination is a study that basically shows that because of that, it's a health condition. It's an actual thing where it causes depression, stress, and the symptom of it is the way you cope with it. That's what the actual perceived ethnic discrimination, it ain't that you're being discriminated against, it's the fact that you do certain things to kind of avert that discrimination that comes at you every day. I'm not just talking like when you clock in 9 to 5. I'm talking about you go to the gas pump, when you go out to the grocery store. Sometimes when you even step outside of your home and, you know, crazy stuff happens. This condition alone between minorities and ethnic groups is one of those things it's been studied, I think about 10 or 15 years, that they're just now seeing that it's more than just saying diversity. I'm gonna be the first one to tell you, and this is Bobby's theology. All right, this ain't no study out there. I do not believe in any more of diversity and inclusion. I believe it is a number now. I believe they have figured out how to make it a way to measure. Everything has to be measurable. Well, guess what? I don't believe in it, because diversity for Bobby is, you could have a room of a multicultural room of people, right? But if they all think the same, there's no diversity in the thinking. And that's what you can't measure, are people's core values, their culture, who they are. Because you can have a room full of multicultural people and they might all vote one way, you know, Democrat or Republican, or independent, or just blow the whole thing up. And so that's that piece of what I believe in me, as many boardrooms I've been in, you sit in a room, yeah, they got diversity in there. I got 2 women, I got 5 African American, I got 2 Asians, I got 5 white guys, I got 5 white women, but they all think the same. And then they wonder why, again, the company like Toys R Us that went down, who at that table, matter of fact, who's seen some of these ads that came out, where you just be like, man, they really missed that one. I think I saw one overseas where they had some little kid with a monkey on the shirt or something.
Yeah.
What was that? What was that?
H&M.
H&M.
Yeah, that wasn't overseas.
Oh, was that here? Somebody told me it was in Africa somewhere. Oh my God, so it was here?
The
Hold on.
baby is, my grandma's a thought.
My grandma's a thought.
Yeah, that was a
Really?
big up. That was a big up.
That was fake though. They made, like, I think they.
You think it was Photoshop?
That was Photoshop, because I did see the actual bid in Walmart. And it doesn't say
Doesn't say
thigh.
Oh, okay.
It's like, oh,
That monkey one was real.
yeah, that was good.
But you think about it, I guarantee you they had somebody at the table that was a minority, whether it's whatever group they fall in diversity, but they didn't want to say anything, or they didn't see it themselves, which is even worse. And that's that piece of, again, if you don't have diverse thinkers around the table, you end up with stuff like that, and then they wonder why people go and start trying to burn down stores and all that kind of stuff. So that's just the piece of it, and this is where the entire presentation is taking its kind of stance from, and that's where I'm framing this whole conversation, is that you ain't crazy, and it's an actual condition, and you have to figure out how to kind of deal with it. And we're gonna give a few solutions in there as well. So, to kind of push on that as well, so the CDC did a study. They went out back in 2016, did a study, and they asked groups of ethnic and diverse groups, really minorities, and they said, how do you basically feel when you're at work with some of these issues? This is 18 and up. Over about 4% of them said they feel sadness. 2% said hopeless. Almost 2% said worthless. And then imagine this, 10% of you at work, whether it's you or somebody you work with that's of ethnic or diverse background, they believe everything they do takes an extra effort. That's that saying that you always hear out there. It takes, you gotta do things twice as good, 3 times as good. It's sayings, but guess what? It's real at work. And so you imagine again that perceived ethnic discrimination, you're at work and you feeling, I gotta do things twice as good. I gotta go back and check this 3 or 4 times because I know my manager and my boss is gonna basically red line it up. And it's that piece of where you're at work and understand where the basis of, again, you're not crazy. So you gotta figure out how to deal with it. We're gonna kind of go through it a little bit. All right. So, microaggressions. So I think I learned about this term maybe 8 years ago at a HR training, you know, and they give those little videos and all like that. But to let you know, so I don't want to call it wrong in definitions. So it's basically a common interaction that subtly and often unconsciously or unintentionally expresses a prejudice, attitude towards a member or group of a marginalized group. You go through this every day, whether you recognize it or you don't. And it's that piece of microaggressions, again, towards that perceived ethnic discrimination, that you're constantly getting this at work, whether it's verbal, where somebody literally comes to you and says something that, you know, man, can you believe such and such, or oh, this is crazy, or nonverbal, where it might be things, and I've experienced this, somebody that clutches their purse, or somebody who crosses the street because they see me coming down, or they lock their door, like I really want to jump in your Fiesta or something. You know, those are microaggressions that are directly verbal and nonverbal. And then there are some environmental ones, which are those big lawsuits and things that always happen. Things like, I'm not a fan, the Washington Redskins or the Atlanta Braves. Those are indirect microaggressions that if you're not paying attention, you are literally discriminating against a group of people. And I don't care how long the team's been there. I'm a Panthers fan, by the way, so they can wipe Washington Redskins off the map. And I like the Atlanta Braves, but they can wipe Redskins off. And it's that piece of microaggressions that are environmental. Now, I'm gonna open this up to some questions. All right. Whew. So we're gonna ask these questions. And if you've ever seen some of these microaggressions, just raise your hand. You know, we're just gonna open it up. You can be honest in here. All right. So a study was done by a photographer that went to Fordham University Lincoln Center, and she asked her friends to hold up a microaggression that you've experienced in life. Who in here has ever heard, or you, and again, a microaggression is not sometimes people coming at you. I can hear somebody doing something beside me that is a microaggression. And you know what? Who in here has had this? Where are you really from? Ooh, it's a lot of y'all. You don't act like a normal black person, you know? Ooh. Courtney, I've never seen you as a black girl. Oh, really? How do people approach that? Somebody that raised their hand. How does somebody come up and actually say that to you?
Go ahead. I was just gonna say that it was actually one of my friends. Like we went to some sort of like play like Shane Yoon or something like that, you know, down at like an opera house, and they said something along the lines of, well, you know, you ain't like anyway, and I was just like, what? And it was a friend of mine, so it wasn't somebody that I didn't know well, so I kind of was taken aback by it, but you really don't know what to say, cause it's just kinda stupid and ignorant.
Anybody else?
Right, as if
Right.
black people can't have culture.
Right here in the front.
So it's kind of interesting. It didn't happen to me, but my wife, right? So she went to an Ivy League school. I went to state school. But we'll hang out with friends and we'll have these kinds of discussions. And somebody once said, you know, not black, right? Right? But I was right there, you know, state school educated, you know, I'm not as, you know, very well spoken. My wife is, I'm not, right? And not black, right?
Black.
Okay.
Two blacks.
Okay, 2 blacks.
There's layers to that black. Unreal. Another one. You don't speak Spanish. Why would somebody ask that? Skin color. Okay. White complexion.
Yeah.
Puerto Rico, got a lot of people talking Spanish, being like, no,
Yeah,
that's
yeah. Yeah.
I'm instantly Dominican most places I go.
You're Dominican? Really?
No, that's what they say.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I've
I
had-
know you forever.
I've
I've
had
you're from Michigan or something.
I've had
Okay.
Dominicans refuse to believe I wasn't Dominican.
Really? Wow. Yeah.
They just assume by your skin color and your hair texture that you in there. So if I'm in like San Antonio, Los Angeles,
Mhm.
and I'm in a high population, they just automatically start speaking Spanish. No.
No,
Pollo and baño, I know that, but don't come in with that.
You know what's scary about that though? There's a whole generation of kids who are coming up now that'll know Spanish better than we did because of things like my little cousins and them, Dora the Explorer. It's included in just their cartoons alone. And so that, again, that's a different presentation. That's the workforce that's coming behind us that are gonna be bilingual and multicultural. Another one. When people think it's weird that I listen to Carrie Underwood. But mine would be Maroon 5. You know, I love Green Day. I'll date myself. I love Red Hot Chili Peppers. Look, Californication, man. You throw that on now. That's what it do. Okay. Another one. The limited representation of my race in your classroom does not make me the voice of all black people. Nobody's ever gonna ask you that, but how did that come off? Like, how did that come up? Like, how did you feel when somebody told you that? Anybody? Right?
So I've had like especially with like the last election, like people have come up to me and said, okay, so, you know, Trump says such, but I know you, do you feel like, is that how black people feel? Do black people feel it? I'm like, you know, I don't know how all black people feel.
What? You don't
I can
speak
tell you
all?
how I feel.
Of course you voted for Obama. That makes sense, wouldn't you know? Last one. You're really pretty for a dark-skinned girl. I feel. This ain't really bias. Hey, it could be anybody. You know?
I have a lot of female friends, so, you know, I've heard
Oh, yeah.
that. I've heard that before.
Oh yeah. So that's that good piece of let's just ask, how do like, I'll even admit myself that I have heard some of these things before and I have like overlooked them. They didn't come at me, but I heard somebody else did. And so how does that make you feel when it's either directed towards you, any of these statements and many more, or you heard about it? Yes.
I think that especially the older you get, you just become desensitized to it. You expect it. It's just something you become used to. It's just how, and I don't think that it's meant to be mean or insensitive. It's they don't know better. It's like you don't have home training, and I think that's what it is. And sometimes you have to correct them when you know it's honest mistake. And it's like, hey, you can't say that to everybody. You know, you have to be mindful of the things you say because it could be taken wrongly and you can get yourself in trouble.
Excuse me. I mean, for me, like, the older I get, things like this becomes a wake-up call that we are still down here. We're treated less than. We're looked at as not equal. When people ask, you know, you're not like other black people, that means they put you in a category. So now there's a subcategory of black people, professional black people, or a term I was called assimilated blacks.
assimilated.
Assimilated
You assimilate
black.
into your own culture.
And so, when you're an assimilated black, you know, you can fit into corporate America. You can go into white spaces and you are comfortable. You're not, you know, we're not the loud black people. We're not the ghetto. And so, it just, stuff like this makes you realize that we're still looked at, you know, we're not too far from the plantation.
Well, the actual problem with that is, it's not that white people do it to us, it's that we do it to us.
And we do it ourselves.
More than they do.
Yeah, don't get it twisted. You're Rosie right on. Look, sometimes it's not somebody of another race. We do it to ourselves a whole lot, and I ain't gonna get on the whole cultural thing of, you know what I am. I'm gonna throw a conspiracy out there. Look, as long as I've been in NSBE, think about this. We have over 14,000, sometimes 15,000 black engineers in general of the conference. We go into the major cities of the United States. Major. One time we went to Toronto. We don't even get news coverage. Think about that. But let it be Love and Hip Hop. Let Lil Scrappy or, you know, let Nene or somebody come through. They're going to have all kinds of, they're going to be following them downtown. They're going to have a news reporter and all that. So understand that it's the perception of a lot of things that are out there. And sometimes we do it to ourselves. I wish more people would show up. I wish this conference was packed out. Yes.
So do you believe that we don't get that presentation because they don't know, or that we're not reaching out as a PR group that we should to let them know? Because like with sororities and fraternities, they let their presence be known. Hey, we're here.
Let somebody on the committee back here. Go ahead.
No, I'm not on the committee,
Okay.
though. I happen to be a PR person, and I will say when the regional conference came to Milwaukee, I kind of got my hands slapped.
That's a whole other.
It's a two-way street.
Look, I'll throw this out there. I sat on the PDC committee. No, God, I've been there for too long with leadership. I was sitting on the PDC when we did it in Charlotte. I was on the planning committee for that board. And despite everything that was going on there, HB2 bill, that was just happened like 2 weeks before. Then we had a riot like the week before that. And then we had the PDC conference, and y'all don't even know what was going on behind the scenes of talking to the police all the time. I will say, we do reach out. We even have, I mean, some of these, I think we even have what the teachers, what is it, I can't remember the name of it. There's a teachers conference with our conference right now, where all the teachers in town come in and get certified and get update on their stuff. You don't see any of that on the news. We reach out. Matter of fact, Roland Martin was at ours in Charlotte, and he even said, he was like,
There's an actual answer.
mm-hmm,
It doesn't sell.
doesn't sell.
It doesn't sell.
Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly it. Before we go to the next one, I'm just gonna throw my story out there just so you know. One of the many, well, I don't say me, I get all kinds of microaggressions. You grew up in the South, you just get it. I was on my job site. Construction is a very, it ain't, if you ever, like a lot of y'all go out to the job sites for visits, to do design reports and observation, come out there. You living out there, one of the realest ones I ever got was I was sitting there typing, and there was a group of seven white men, and it was like another Hispanic dude sitting there, and they started talking about the Confederacy. And this is in Charleston. This is right after the flag went down. And one guy was just going on and on about being a rebel and, man, the history, and y'all don't understand what the war was really about. I'm sitting there typing. I ain't at the table now. I'm like maybe 10 feet away, and I hear them, and they went on for like almost 30 minutes. I'm trying to get my report done. And finally, I just turned around and I told them, I said, do you wish the Confederacy would have won? Just straight-faced and all. I was pissed, but they stopped. I mean, take that to your house, take that to your barbecue or your clan route, whatever you got to do. That's terrible. That is terrible. Construction has no filter. I'm telling you, like, we have no. If you've ever been on a job site, has no filter at all.
You know what's funny? The biggest ones I experienced are generally at a conference.
Really? From like what?
Me and Estot, we were at a bar. One of the hotels was sitting down drinking. We ordered something. What we ordered, and he's like, "Well, you know that's such and such dollars." We were like, "Okay, well, give me two."
What I'm talking about? Yeah, McCullen 25. $1,000 drinks.
I asked you how much it was. I said, "Pour it."
Pour it. That's it. So those microaggressions are real. I want to slow you guys down. So this is an inflection point. All right. So understand that again, like I said, the microaggression. It basically it's so constantly on your psyche. Not so much, again, of what you're going through, but how you're dealing with it. That's the part that is perceived method of discrimination that causes a lot of just breakdown. I mean, we revert to a lot of stuff like spiritual with the church, like I said, family members and everything like that. And you're trying to combat that all the time. But again, it leaves you frustrated and angry. And that's a problem. A lot of us go home, and a lot of my Olivia Pope fans out here, she pours the biggest glasses of wine. That is the worst. I mean, it's like half the bottle's gone in one glass. And that's that piece again of we're self-coping. We're trying to deal with kind of, when we say relax and whatever at the end of the day, it's not a good way to live our lives. That's why we end up with a lot of health problems and things like that. But, inflection point. So, how somebody brought this up. How was it at work? And express your experience at work the day after President Obama was elected. In just a couple words. You got notepads in front of you? Put a couple words on there. I'll give you 2 minutes, real quick, just to write down 2 words to express, whether it was at work, school, you're out at the store, it don't matter where you're at. You got this little yellow note card, sticky pads in front of you. Share with a friend. I think I only got like 4 or 5 pins for a bunch of them. If you got a note, if you got a pen on your own, write it down. Stick it on the wall to your left or your right. Oh no, don't stick it on the wall. You know what? I don't know what the hotel will do to us. One of these little nice doily napkin things come. And we're about to send Bobby to be here. So stick it right on your desk, right beside you. What? Go ahead and call out some. What you got?
I have outrage and fear.
Outrage and fear. Somebody else in the back.
I was in college at the time, and I was on an all-white women's floor, and people were crying in the hallway.
Crying in the hallways.
Tears of joy.
Right here in front.
I was in college, but I was at an HBCU. We actually didn't have class the next day, and we like celebrated the whole day.
Celebration.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I was at work, so we celebrated, but it was silent celebration. Like, yes.
Silent celebration.
Everybody's smiling.
Right here.
I was at work and I spoke to my customer service group like 3 times. Good morning. They didn't speak back and I was eyes and was like crying, red eyes. I was so mad at me. And it dawned on me because I was just doing my regular good morning. And it dawned on me, I was like, oh my God, they're mad.
Right in front.
I went to PWI too, so it was quiet and shop and a lot of stairs.
Everybody know what a PWI is? Predominantly white institution? Okay, just. Yes.
I also went to a PWI, and my brother and I were actually the only 2 black people at our school out of 500 people. So everyone was very conservative, so me and him both went in with our Obama shirts. We were just out in the crowd.
Y'all went right in. You're
Right.
Right here.
Well, it was quiet, I remember that, but it was the same, it was kind of like when Trump won, it was the same thing, but it was reversed. So, when Obama won, black folks, it was silent celebration, the white people were very like upset and angry, and then this past election was kind of switched where the black folks were sitting there, you know, some people just didn't go to work, and the white folks were like, did you see that last night? So,
Anybody else in the back? Right back there. What are your 2 words? The day after. You looking right at me. There we go. Yes, ma'am. Right there. Both of y'all, as a matter of fact.
Well, I was in college and everyone was excited. I was in the University of Houston, and so I remember TSU band, they marched across. It was just a big celebration, but I remember logging onto Facebook, and I went to a predominantly white high school, and so True Colors came out with like my classmates. They said some really cool things, and I just remember just sitting these people and the way they were acting, and I was like, wow. Like I was, most of the times I was the only black person in my class, so it was just, for me, I'm from a small community, so it was hurtful for me just to see people that I grew up with come out.
Here you go. I'm gonna shift it real quick. So those microaggressions that you have, the 2 words, sit it right down, stick it on the desk. Now, another inflection point. Somebody already said it. What was the experience at work, school, outside, the day after President Trump got elected? In 2 words. 2 words.
well, I was gonna say, people at my job, I work at a company where it's like 10 to 20,000 people, and most of them were like, make America better.
Anybody else experience? Yes.
Mine was, it was like a sneaky thing, because you never knew where people were standing ahead of time. And then, at the other day,
Now you have to delete people off your Facebook.
Right. Well, no, you didn't know how they voted. It was like, kind of a quiet, not saying I'm happy, not saying I'm sad. It's like,
Right here.
I think for me it was awkward,
Awkward.
right? Like,
Right.
yeah.
Now you can't go to lunch with them no more, right?
Well,
Jimmy John's don't taste the
so,
same.
so not exactly like that. For me, it was more so, we still engaged the same way that we did, but there was a pause, maybe waiting for me to say something or to comment, and I didn't say anything, and it was just like, okay, we're just gonna, right?
So I'll throw this one more right here.
I was gonna say, like, a silent, astonished joy, and like,
You or them?
them,
Okay.
and like apologetic. So I literally had someone come to me and say something along the lines like, I voted for him, but I didn't think that he would win. And I'm in my mind, why did you vote for him?
So one more. Yes. For the tease. Yeah. So I'll throw this out there to you, and it was something they did a poll and they showed where when President Obama got elected and when President Trump got elected, it was the same microaggressions. Regardless if it's flipped or it's not, understand a microaggression, no matter who's there, it's still a microaggression. It's where, again, whether it's sad, like, understand, I got the same, ours is actually in construction, it was different. We had guys walking around, our laborers, they come out, yeah. And I was like, bro, calm down. It was kind of weird and like the silent approach. And then some of them, it was outright. I saw the bumper stickers come out on people's desks. I saw them sticking them on the sides of their laptops, all kinds of weird stuff. And then you see people bring Bernie stickers out. It was the weirdest time that I think I've ever seen on that side. Kind of knew it when President Obama, but when Trump came, it was a different feel. But understand, yes.
I just have a question, because I'm hearing a lot of the responses. Do you think it made a difference where you all reside in the United States? Because I live in New York City area, which is very, very pro-democratic, and there's no MAGA signs. It's just culturally, it's really different. So I'm just curious, for the people who gave input, do you come from an area where there are a lot more supporters for Republicans or just say non-democratic? I'm just curious.
South.
Okay, so the South.
Yeah.
West. So it's like
So that
South.
kind of explains it, because that's very foreign
Yeah.
for me. Like, I'm like, we don't do that.
Well, in New Jersey, I'm from New Jersey, and like some of the stuff is like divided. Because in my job, it's funny because they had to turn off CNN after the Trump election because it wasn't not a bunch of us, but so it was a divide between white people.
Right.
So it was like it kept on being like this debate, and it kind of got like heated between like one Hispanic girl and like this white guy, and it was just like it turned crazy. So they had to actually turn off the the news, but it was like a 50-50, like, and it, and we're in New Jersey, so.
I'll say, I was in Florida when Trump was elected, so, but we had a large presence of African Americans at the time, so they had to do the same thing. At first they took the flat screens out of the office completely, and then they decided to put it up, and they put it on the Weather Channel, but they like showed
Everybody like food here.
Let's take one more comment.
Well, I have a question for you.
Yes.
Because I'm looking at the pictures that you put on the screen.
Oh, yeah.
And the difference between the Obama picture and the Trump picture is very, and people not only were like, the majority of the people at my job surprised when Trump won, but that picture there shows that Trump was surprised that Trump won. And Obama's picture is happy, yes, we made it, good job. Trump is like, what the heck am I gonna do now? And that's how this whole thing has gone, but people are like, oh, he's for us, for the people, whatever, and he started these riots that now people are having to deal with, but he has no understanding of that, and that's what that picture shows to me. It's funny that you picked that picture.
I just Googled Trump and that was the first thing. So, just want to understand again the microaggressions. Doesn't matter who was in office. At work, you still got them. And it comes from different angles. And don't sometimes think sympathy and people crying. Sometimes they crying because they did vote, you know, especially now. But it's that piece of us understanding that and, you know, trying to combat that. So like I said, give the problem, tell you an inflection point, then I want to try to give some solutions. Again, these ain't gonna fix everything, but these are just simple things. Again, you can Google, it kind of gives a little way to a roadmap. So I'm still struggling with this first point. So understand this, at your job, if you don't try to combat some of this microaggressions that happen, you're basically, like silence is implied acceptance. You're being complicit in it. And so what's going to end up happening is they're just going to keep it going, and it becomes a snowball effect to, again, like I said, you end up at Black History Month and they're bringing fried chicken in, thinking that that's Black history, you know? So I'm struggling with that still because I just figured it ain't my problem. But then I realized that person's going to go do it. They're going to have that Confederacy talk with another person, a younger person, or somebody who just allows it. So that's why the way they kind of said it was being able to pause. You hear them, they just say, just pause, don't fly off the handle. Sometimes they do it to make you fly. They want to see a reaction. They want to see you do, they want to literally see you. They be like, Trump is the greatest ever. You be like, they want to see that because they're doing it on purpose. So don't do it. Don't shift your weight. Don't be like, you know. So they tell you to pause and do that. And they tell you to examine your assumptions. Somebody said it earlier. Home training, the way you were brought up, your culture, the way you were raised, values, core values. Some people ain't got none. Simple as sometimes hygiene. They ain't got none. They will blow their nose and they go in them community donuts and grab half of one and leave the other half in there. And as a guy, the guys in here will admit this. We'll go in the bathroom with some of our coworkers. We washing our hands. They will come right out behind us. Not even got a splash of it. Once again, yep. And then you see him walking around the office. Yeah, man. Yeah. You go, you think, get out of here. So yeah, it's that piece of sometimes examine the assumptions and just understand that some people don't come from the same background that we have, and you got to be able to kind of do that. And then cut them some slack. Like I said, examine who they're from. In the South, people are completely proud to be rebels and be redneck. Honestly, I think a redneck is the same as saying you get up on the hood. I don't see the difference in it. You're classifying yourself as something outside of the norm, and down there in the South, I'm a redneck, and they're proud to say it at work, in a meeting. I'm just a dumb redneck, I don't care about nothing. I get it, cool. But just understand, sometimes just cut them some slack and understand they don't know no better. And you ain't gonna be the one to teach them home values and stuff. And then, like I told you with my story with the Confederate story, share the impact. Tell them how what they're saying is impacting you or somebody else outside the group. Go back to pause and then go share the impact. You know, let them know that what you're saying can be offensive to other groups of people. You over here mimicking, I don't know, Oscar De La Hoya or something is offensive to other groups. Your impression of something is offensive. And so when you share that with them, any decent person will be like, you know what, you're right. You know, I'm sorry about that. You know, I apologize. And then last, again, share your perspective on it. Let them know where it's coming from and again, how the impact is. You try some of these, so this ain't the solution, the end all be all, but try some of this at work. When you hear them, confront them, and kind of bring it up to people. Any questions about microaggressions?
I guess I would add one thing in there. As you're more mature in your career, this stuff may be a lot easier. But for younger folks who are just in their career, you know, this is huge. And one thing I would probably on there say, you know, share the impact with a mentor or someone who can advocate for you.
Very good.
Because younger folks, this is hard. I mean, for some of us older folks, this is hard, right?
Yeah, that's a very good point. Sometimes it's overwhelming, especially again, if you come from a PWI, or if you come from an HBCU, or you come from a black college. Sometimes, look, it's real. Like I tell the college students all the time, school, no matter what school you went to, it's a safe haven. No matter what you think, there's gates, you got a schedule, you can get up when you want to go to class. At work, it's the real world. And you're gonna meet real people that don't come from your background. And it ain't like in college, again, this is real. And so like you said, talking to mentors, sometimes running to HR too, yes, if it's that offensive, please go to HR. But understand, sometimes HR is not your mentor.
Right.
They are building a case file. For the younger ones here. If you've been down this road, you listen to some of that, they're building a case file. And sometimes it's not, HR's job is not to solve the problem, it's to identify it and try to make it level for everybody. So unless there's something crazy out there, they're not gonna go and, unless somebody's putting swastikas up on the side of the wall somewhere, their job is just to kind of come in, assess, and, hey, make a few changes here and there. Yes?
And I just wanna put out there, HR's job is to make sure the company does not get sued. That is what they are there for.
They are risk mitigation all the way. Yes.
Sometimes when stuff at work happens, I struggle with not looking like the angry black girl. And because and then even with the pause, I will pause, but my facial expression says something totally different. I'm like, do a quick turn of the head, like the right.
It's funny you bring that up. So there's all kinds of, I think there's like 40 or 50 different classifications of discrimination. I only picked like 4 of them, the 4 that I thought were important. One of them was cultural differences, and one of them is facial expression and the way and it's hard. It's very hard. I learned mine from the military. You make enough facial expressions, you can break basic training, they kick you out of line as hard as they could, and you step back in. So I fixed mine. I got a very stone cold face all the time at work. But yes, it's just one of those things you gotta work on it. You gotta get better, because believe it or not, that's sometimes the things that keep you out of management. That's the things that keep you out of executive. That's the thing that keep you out of the C-suite. Is because a lot of our companies, if they wanted to make the change, they would have. You know what I mean? I don't know how many studies you need, all this, that, and the other. If they wanted to be more diverse, they would have. But they let the little trickles in here and there, because those are the people who can manage and handle themselves. And you stay down there at the bottom angry because 15 years later you still engineer 1 or 2. So yes.
So to follow up on that, I was just wondering if, what to do in a situation. So I'm in an office with 5 people, 2 of the people just normal, and then 2 of the people that are kind of nice, but then they'll say these things, but, and one guy, he is a white guy, the other guy is Asian guy, and always are talking about something that they can do to get this other guy to start off. He is a white guy, but he's not, he's very against when they just say stuff, and so I know they intentionally, because I can hear them always talk about how can they try to tell him this, send him messages, stuff like that.
Talk to them, or if you got, again, a mentor or a manager that you trust, not to go tattletale on them, but maybe bring them in to kind of give it from a management perspective of, this is how something's impacting, these people over here. Sometimes, because the thing is, when people, like we all, we grew up with bullies. Some of us were bullies in school, and when a bully runs out of they beat down one person, guess what? Now they got to go find somebody else. So you at work, and when they get done with them, they might turn to you and be doing the exact same tactics. So you want to be able to sometimes head that off, because people don't approach you if they know, craziest thing, people know where you stand, then they sometimes won't test you that far, because they know they know how far they can go with you. So just kind of bring that up.
Yeah, they only go after people that they feel that they can go after.
Yep.
Like, I don't usually have people come at me like that, because they.
I can hear it in your voice now.
Yeah.
When I just said that.
It's not gonna go well.
I want to be on your team all
It's
day.
not gonna go well for you, but, you just have to point out in yours that, hey, you guys are being a bully, point blank period. You wouldn't want anybody doing that to you, and put them on blast. You call them a bully and they're gonna feel like this.
Ain't got time to work.
And they're gonna stop.
Yep.
And if they don't, then that takes it to HR, because now they're into harassment,
Yep.
severe
Good advice.
pervasive.
Yes.
Just a quick comment, I also think that, the language that you use when you're addressing someone could make a difference, because that could cause a retaliatory action towards her. So rather than use the word bully, I would just say that your behaviors aren't very inclusive, right? Some environments have that, but I would use slightly different language, because that could incite the reaction that you don't want.
Yeah. Good advice. Look, that's why we all in here, because we all have different experiences, we have different advice, and please share. Oh my God. All right, we're gonna ride through this. All right, generational differences. So this is another one in there. So understanding that right now in your workplace, you have about 5 different generations working all at the same time. So it's this discrimination called ageism. It ain't just millennials at work, it's like ageism, where you're discriminating against a certain group based on their age. So to kind of point some of this out to you, last year, $91 million were recovered for employees against victims of ageism. So basically, they went to HR and complained about something, put a lawsuit out there, and they got money for it. Understanding too, that at your job, 1 in 5 people, whether it's on your job or your company, 1 in 5 are over the age of 55. So a lot of those younger ones, we don't see that, and we don't see why that's important sometimes. So just to point this out, at your job, anytime there's some kind of programming or something they're talking about, 58% of the time, they're actually talking about how does that affect somebody of a certain age. Example, we're gonna go do a habitat build this weekend. Oh, what are they doing this weekend? They're building roofs. Oh man, you know, Bob, man, he's old, he can't get up there on that roof. And so that's programming that they're thinking about somebody of an age. You know, hey, we're gonna go drinking this week. Somebody's under the age of 21. So they're thinking about age when it comes to those kind of activities at work. So, I wanna show you guys, so we're gonna show you guys real quick this video of 5 different groups and how they're kind of combating ageism at work.
Hey, how's it going? You can stand right there, that's your mark. How you doing? I'm great, how are you? Great. Just tell us your first name and your age. My real age?
My name is Paolo. I'm 25 years old.
My name is Daniela, and I'm 19.
24. 35.
31. 33.
I'm 26 years old.
What age do you consider to be old?
Late 40s.
Maybe 50.
I feel like 30s and late 20s. So I'd say like 40 is old. I'd probably say 50s.
I'd like you to show me how an old person would cross the street. Show me how an old person would send a text message. How might an old person do a push-up? What about jumping jacks? Okay, hang on. There's someone I want you to meet.
Hello, I'm Birch. I'm 66.
Hi, I'm Daphne, and I'm 68. I'm Dee, and I'm 55.
George Fassbinder, 75.
My name's Parvati. I'm 70. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. We're going to give you about 2 minutes to teach each other something that you are good at. I can teach you a jump that I do.
Okay, please.
Both of your legs go up, and your arm goes up, and your left arm goes to the side. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Lift 1, 2, 3. And bring it to your heart. And bring it to your heart. And head in. Yeah. I'm going to try to get you balanced. And you don't.
Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7. So when you come out of the turn, either way, you go back to that place.
Over. Now 4. Over. Yeah.
Square like this, and we hook. Hook. Jab, cross. Hook. And then we'll go like this. Okay? 1, 2, 3.
Now, what age might you consider to be old?
Probably 80 or 90. Just do everything that I told him to do. An age that I would consider to be old now might be 100.
You remember what you said?
Yeah, I said in the 50s, I thought that would be all. But when I thought about it, like...
Wait a minute. My thinking of what old is. You've taught me something today. Clearly, there's no way she's old, you know?
Now I know from today, hey, I don't look at age.
At my age, I feel like I did when I was in my 20s.
There's so many things that I still want to do. There's so many things that I can do. As long as I'm growing and learning, then age doesn't matter.
When people start stopping, that's when they start getting old.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Daphne.
It was great meeting you.
How long have you been doing this? Is this a new skill?
40 years.
So that was the suggestion on ageism. We're not going to talk about it too much because we're running out of time, but just understand that while you're at work, take the time to get to know somebody that's older than you, younger than you. You know how to install Windows 10 and you know what happened to those buttons that were missing? Go help them out. Don't laugh at them. Because at the same time, they can help you figure out if you're younger what kind of deductions you need on your tax forms. And they can help you out with understanding how gross income works. So it's those little small things that we share. Kind of two more topics we want to talk about real quick. Communication barriers. There's all kinds. So understanding at work, a discrimination that actually happens is the cross-cultural communication. And the biggest piece of it, and we're not going to go into the videos of it, but just to give you a brief quick on it, is it's not just language barriers that is considered, because you speak a different language. There are certain things on presentation skills, the way you carry yourself, the things, if you've ever gotten what we call at work, or there's something called mansplaining. There's something called, somebody, you say something and somebody will clarify it for you in the same meeting multiple times. You'll say, I'll have that report on Wednesday. Somebody will say, oh, why do we have that report 2 days before Friday? And you look at them like, what? Like, why do I need you? And so it's that piece of, sometimes at work, that communication barriers happen. And just to give you a quick one on this, is basically he asked her, like, where are you from? And she's like, Michigan. And she's like, no, he's like, where are you really from? And she's like, my parents are from Korea. And he's like, oh, and he goes into some weird Korean accent. And then she basically comes back and asks, where are you from? He's like, oh, I'm from Kansas. She's like, no, where are you really from? And he's like, oh, I'm from England, my parents. And she's like, oh, double, toil and trouble. But again, that's that communication barrier, that if you do things where communication, bringing over time, this is gonna be one of them good ones. But something as simple as somebody touches somebody's guys, I mean, you don't come touch my hair, but I've seen it happen many, many times. And it's that piece of just explaining where you stand and what you're going through, to not let people do that. Create that barrier. And then, have we all gotten the email that's in all caps? So understand as well, communication barriers happen where you don't know the tone in this email. Maybe the cap lock is broke, maybe somebody stole the cap lock button, who knows? But the way you combat something like this is, you reach out to the person, ask them, is this what you really meant in it? Maybe they did mean to put it in all caps. Now we really do got a problem. But it's that piece of emails is not really sometimes a good form of communication, and it takes out the piece of face-to-face where you can get to feel somebody.
My point in that is people text so much. I see that when people do emails now, they're thinking they're sending a text message.
Yep. Yeah. Generation coming behind us, they type like they text. They send emails like they text. And understand that emojis and emails is not good sometimes, unless it's just one between somebody, but not to the executive summary. So communication, I've seen it before. Executive summary or communication is like passing a ball back and forth. You send it, you receive it, you send it, you receive it. It's the way it goes back and forth. A good way it works to kind of combat some of that as a suggestion is it's called the transitional model. So you go off and your day-to-day, all the noises out there, it's filters, somebody's across the hall, you got a certain way you communicate, you loud or they loud, they got problems, that's that noise. And the field of your experience of how you communicate. And you're trying to put it into somebody else's bubble, you want to be able to send a message to somebody, and if you get it, you receive it, you get the message, you decode it, you go off and you encode it with how you translated it, you send it back to the person with feedback. And then it just goes in a cycle and just keep going back and forth. She receives it, decodes it, encodes it, sends the message back as feedback. Simple way of saying this is, it's just simple saying, hey, I need that report by Wednesday on such and such. We're like, oh, so you need the report on Wednesday for such and such? They're like, no, I need the report for this. Go back and forth. Engage with people and have that conversation. Again, email sometimes is not the best way to do it. Face-to-face will break a lot of those communication barriers. All right, last but not least, gender bias. Gender bias alone is not the worst part. It is the unconscious gender bias at work. And so basically, again, unconscious, you don't know what's out there, you're just doing it because it's built inside of you. So one of my friends told me about this. I know on fact that when we looked up some of the stats on it, 53% of women are on entry-level position of employees, 40% are managers, 25% are directors, 27% are vice presidents, 24% senior vice presidents, and only 19% in the executive suites or C-suites. So just knowing that makeup of how that is, a quick study was done. They took 2 resumes, the exact same resume, and they sent it out to 100 people. 50 got one resume, the other 50 got the other resume. All they did was change the name at the very top. Put a woman's name on one and put a man's name on the other. The exact same resume. 79% of the males came back and said they would hire him. Only 49% came back and said they would hire her. And then even worse, 4 times more, her resume came back with questions trying to basically validate what's on her resume, of saying things like, oh, you got a certification in this, or does she really understand? Like, does she really have that certification? Does she understand what that is? So understanding that those biases happen unconsciously. You just think you're doing something and you don't realize that you're building that in at work. So I was gonna show you this one. We ain't got time. This is a funny one. I send it out to anybody. And then we also going to talk about time check real quick. What we got? 10:29. I'm sorry. 15 minutes. Which one do y'all want to talk about? We got CEO, where she gives a really good example, or we can talk about Serena. All right. Thought CEO was better. So, not so much to talk about. Who in here doesn't know what happened to Serena? I would play the video, but it's about 4 minutes.
You say which time?
This last.
Yeah, this.
Because I mean, she's been going through a lot of stuff, you know,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
every time she has a meet, they drug test her.
Right.
Regardless
So-
of if she wins or loses.
So, not to talk about that piece of winning, losing, what happened at this, but the way kind of at work. Her job is out there on that court. And so the gender bias that happens is, as soon as that happened to her, anybody not know what happened with the tennis tour with after the meet she just did?
I don't know.
Quick synopsis on it. Basically, she went to the was it Wilmington? Was it the U.S. Open? And she got into it. You know what? I'll play a quick second of it. Where's my mouse? What's going on?
Back here at home into the major fallout at the U.S. Open, and the moment witnessed by millions. Serena Williams fined $17,000 today for her outburst during Saturday night's championship match. Williams yelling at the chair umpire, smashing a racket, loudly complaining of a double standard between men and women players. ABC's Ariel Resheff was there.
It was the explosive battle on the biggest stage in tennis that no one saw coming.
You owe me an apology. I have never cheated in my life.
Tonight, Serena Williams fined $17,000 for going head-to-head with the chair ump.
You need to make an announcement that I didn't get coaching.
It started when the ump issued a warning when Serena's coach made this illegal hand signals. The tennis superstar seething.
I don't cheat to win. I'd rather lose.
After the match, her coach saying he was doing what's become a common tactic.
Well, I mean, I'm honest. I was coaching. I mean, I don't think she looked at me, so that's why she didn't even think I was.
Serena saying she had no idea, her frustration building. At one point, she breaks her racket. The ump issuing another violation.
I have a daughter, and I stand what's right for her, and I've never cheated. You owe me an apology.
But it was this moment that sent the situation spiraling. Late in the match, the ump handing Serena a game penalty.
It was up to Serena and the chair umpire to rate it, and neither one of them did what they should have done.
She calls for a referee, accusing the ump of a sexist double standard.
So, just so you're up to date on that one, even at the award ceremony, she lost. She brought the other lady up, and she told the crowd to stop booing. She's a competitor all through and through. But basically, at her workplace, the response that's been happening in the news and things that have been happening is kind of that piece of, regardless of what happened there is a bias when it comes down to it. Somebody said earlier about angry black woman syndrome, which my sister has told me all about growing up. And it's that way of when emotionally people are expressing themselves. I get angry black man syndrome too. And I'm not allowed, like, if I get loud in a room, I have a very deep voice. I have learned how to air my voice out because I have a very deep voice. But I know it will scare people. I've even said some things when I got angry, and I've seen people I've seen them tense up before. And so, yes, it's that piece of sometimes those gender biases at work are real, and that right there is a clear example of, as soon as that happened to Serena, people jumped to sides and they were like, she was wrong, and she shouldn't have been getting upset, and she shouldn't get mad. She's an athlete. I get angry when they see athletes get angry in the middle of something, at the height of what their career is. It frustrates me when I see them say that about athletes, especially black athletes. It makes me more upset. But just understand that happens to anybody at any level. And kind of the suggestions on some of that to help eliminate workplace bias or gender bias is, first you need to educate your employees about stereotypes. So finding those stats, it doesn't matter if you're at the lower level or at the executive level of a company, put that out there. Then you want to kind of help to establish kind of criteria for some of that evaluation of what is that stereotype. Whether if you're hiring, whether you're talking to somebody, whether you see something, just kind of put it into a frame for them. Then you want to scrutinize the criteria, and then also hold the decision makers accountable. If something happens or you see something that happens, go back to the managers, go back to the executives, bring it up to them, because companies like to wipe this stuff under the carpet. Walmart has the most discrimination cases in the world, but yet we still go there and buy their stuff. I'm telling you, it's real, and it's just because it keeps getting swept under the carpet. So being able to point some of that stuff out, it'll help in holding them accountable. Be transparent about it, so share it with people, let people know. And then second to last, this is something that I had ended up doing in my job a whole lot, which is vouching for people. And it's not saying, oh, she's a woman, she's doing great. It's speaking up for people when they do stuff right. I don't care what gender you are. If you do great on a report, if you do great in helping me with something, I will sit in a room and brag for you. You don't have to toot your own horn. Let somebody else do it. And us, and as guys, especially in the construction world, I speak up for a lot of time with women when they go out to the job sites, because it might only be like 2% women and 1,000 people out there working. And so speaking up for them and helping them out helps out a lot of different issues that happen at work. And last but not least, document. I'm telling you, I ain't saying Omarosa this thing up, but it's not illegal in DC, but it's illegal in most other states if you're sitting there recording people. So document though, keep this stuff written down. You never know when you're gonna have to do a biography one day. Write it down. So document as much as you can, just write it down. Write down your experiences. Because I remember writing stuff down almost 15 years ago, and I go back and look at when I first started my career, and I'm like, man, that's what I was thinking. And now I deal with it differently. And so writing that stuff down helps out a lot and just kind of cycle it away. So in conclusion, we talked about the perceived ethnic discriminations and talked about the microaggressions. Pause, examine your assumptions, cut them some slack, share the impact, and share your perspectives. The generational differences, ageism, go to work. Whether you're old or young, share with somebody, help them out, go and talk to them because they probably feel that way. The communication barriers, use the transitional model, and then the gender bias, try those 7 ways. And last but not least, the dear Congresswoman Sherry Chisholm said, if they don't give you a seat at the table, bring a folding chair. Seriously, you know? So I challenge you at work to not only bring your chair, but help bring other chairs with you. Go and bring more people to the table. Don't be that spokesperson, because sometimes your opinion is not always the one that they want, because they get comfortable with hearing one opinion. They need to know that it's a multitude of different opinions and diversity. So I always like to leave, whenever I do these, are kind of like developmental things. And so these are books that kind of help me to kind of get to where I'm at. And something like The Ideal Team Player by Patrick Luciani. Brag, really great book. Again, I said you don't need to toot your own horn. If you do the right things, you put things in place, people will do it for you. If you've never read a Simon Sinek book or seen his TED Talks, please go check it out. That's a really great one. John C. Maxwell has a whole library of books, but that's one of the best ones that I've read, The 15 Invaluable Laws. One of the best things that I can do at work, and I challenge you to do this, that helped me out, T.D. Jakes motivational videos. It's short, it's like 5 minutes, 3-minute ones. One of the best ones I've seen is Why You Don't Fit In. Believe it or not, there's a lot of stuff that you go through at work. If you need that, if you're feeling like you're about to go and smack somebody, go watch one of T.D. Jakes' motivational videos, and it'll put you back on kilter because it calms you down a little bit. I don't know if you're a T.D. Jakes fan or not. I am. Potter House all the way, and it'll help put you back into like a good frame of mind. If you email me, I'll send you the audio book for all these. I got them in MP3 formats. I know it's probably nobody here. They're not publishers for none of these, are they? Doesn't matter. I believe in sharing. I believe in helping. If you get it, share it with somebody else, somebody younger than you, somebody older than you, and yeah. So definitely, guys, thank you so much for your time. Very good stuff. Long time, but what time is it? Yes.
You have about 22 minutes before lunch. You could talk about the CEO one.
Oh yeah, if you want to stay, I'll play the CEO one. We can talk about it if you like.
Would it be possible to get this presentation?
Yeah, email me. Shoot, this ain't nothing but Google and copy and paste.
But I think this would be really good to share with some of my coworkers who may not be aware
Oh, yeah.
You know, we have harassment, training at work, and I think that this would go a lot along with that. Because the microaggressions are a different thing,
Oh,
and I
yeah.
don't think people realize that.
Oh, yeah.
Regardless of where you're at, it can sometimes be very tough to be a female, or the only female, the first, the youngest, because unconscious bias, they exist. I'm serving on a board, and I'm serving on a key committee, and we are all hop on the conference call. And I'm in my office, I have it on speaker, and we hear a vacuum cleaner. One of the men asked, Nina, is that you? Okay, it's hard enough to get a seat at the table, to be on a key committee, to be where I am, but for someone to say, to hear a vacuum cleaner and assume that it's the woman. And so my response, I had about half a second to respond. I took it off of mute and I said, no, Joe, that would be impossible. In my house, a man does that. And so everybody burst into laughter. Naturally, I got a phone call afterwards, but I didn't get mad. I didn't, pull out the woman card. I didn't hit him in the eyes between it. I handled it with finesse, but I knew what he was doing. And he felt very silly afterwards because it turns out that it was actually another man that was taking the call from home and somebody was cleaning his home. But so it occurred to me that even at the highest echelons of power, there is still unconscious bias. And however disappointing it is, my advice is be strategic, have finesse, have confidence. Even though you are mad, don't get mad, get motivated.
So what do you think? I had the reason you got the little ink blots on your thing was I had voting that we were gonna do. Didn't have time for it. It was gonna take kind of like good survey for people. So what do you think? I mean, is that something that happens at work? Do you? I guess, and I even throw this out there for men. I've been on teams before I got into construction. I've been on teams where I was the only guy out of like 15 women sitting around, and they would talk about a lot of maternal things. They would talk about things that women do, and they would exclude me from the conversation. And then if I tried to jump in, they would then be like, well, you don't understand that. You don't know what we're talking about. And it would be like laughs and stuff. Understanding that now that I'm older, I realized that that was a form of unconscious bias. It was gender bias. And so that's also a piece of it. So who's experienced some of that at work? Oh, yeah? Okay.
One day I was delivering a bid for a construction project, and another GC walked in with a packet, and somebody asked them, are you here to deliver the bid? They said, oh no, I have girls in the office to do that.
How did that make you feel?
I was mad because I have 2 degrees working on my third, and that has nothing to do with it. So I'm hoping that one day I can, I'm a senior in civil engineering at SMU, and I hope that one day he comes and bids on one of my projects with me as engineer.
Keep it in your back pocket, just ready. No, it's funny you mentioned that from that side of it. It's funny that this is 2018. NAACP did in Charleston, they did the 100-year celebration, and Joe Biden came to speak. He spoke at their banquet, and it was his story. If you've never read up on Joe Biden, regardless if you're a Democrat or Republican, read up on that man. He has an amazing, amazing story. And he kind of pointed out, I didn't realize this, but at age 17, he joined the NAACP, and he was a lifetime member at that point. So you're talking decades ago. He's literally said he remembers the fights back in the 50s and 60s. And he said that he cannot believe today that he's still fighting those same conversations. He literally was like, the same thing I heard back then when we were fighting for Woolworth counters and we were talking about this. He said the same questions and conversations are happening today. So that's why, again, I challenge everybody in the room. Don't pull a seat up for yourself to make it easy for you. Look, I don't believe in no more first of anything. I ain't gonna lie, it's 2018. If there's a first or something, it comes with so many caveats behind it. The first on Tuesday from such and such college or such and such. It's like a long, no. I'm about the numbers. The way you crush a lot of this is if you put more people at the table and you have more people lined up behind you. I ain't saying it's got to be more Baracks out there, but we needed a line full of people ready to step up, to just step up in place. And at your job, you got to do the same thing. Yes?
I was going to say unconscious bias. One thing happened to me at the national conference, which is kind of interesting because we travel with professionals, like diverse professionals. Okay, so like to me, right? But to even within our population, you sometimes notice, you travel with colleagues that are of a different, ethnicity, race, etc. Somebody would rather talk to the other person, right? Because there might be opportunity, etc., right? And so unconscious bias is real, right? Even within our own population.
Nesby has some real unconscious biases. I realize this too. When you're in college, you don't see it. You just think like, oh, professionals, we don't know what they do. Now that you're on this side of the fence, you're kind of wondering why you didn't step up to one before. And like you said at the career fairs, you would rather go talk to somebody at the career fair where they might be an entry level, especially at the minority conferences. They're an entry level, 1 or 2 years in the company. They're going to pass it up to a hiring manager anyway. But then instead, you could actually come here to the professionals conference when you were in school and get you get right now. If somebody came in and said, hey, I'm in mechanical engineer senior and I want an internship. Somebody in here is willing to say, hey, show me your resume after this. And that's the side that a lot of other people do on the other side of the fence that we have to do more for us as well. And we have to step out there as professionals and let college students know, if you go into the career fair, it's great, it's good, I went there and got my job, but you need to do other avenues to bypass, like, I'll take your resume and go right to a hiring. I go to my manager and say, we're trying to fill a position. And then that way it gets around. And that's what happens on a lot of other spaces that we don't do, that we need to do more of. And like I said, fill the seats up, man. Like, let's bust it open. Unconscious biases, microaggressions. Yes?
For unconscious biases, we're going through a training at my job right now about like training and how to react to unconscious biases. And it's called Brain Skills at Work. I'm not sure if they're national or international.
Brain skills?
Brain Skills at Work, yeah.
Okay.
They train you how to identify your biases and then react to them without offending anybody else. For color, not color, so if you want to contact, I have them.
Okay, yeah.
Or connection.
Share it. Send it to me. I'll send it out to anybody if you email. Yes?
I know a lot of the advices I've gotten are outside of work. You say like, oh, you work for, someone asks, what do you do? You say you work for this company, and they assume that they know what you do. For instance, when I first graduated, graduated college, I went to Chase to start a savings account, and so it was a savings account. And I didn't realize that they put your occupation down when you start your account. And she goes, what do you do? And I said, I work for Lockheed Martin. And she goes, she puts laborer on my name. And I'm okay with being a laborer if I'm a laborer, but don't assume that I'm a laborer. I said, take that off. That's not what I do.
That's as real as it gets. And that's what happens in the unfair housing market. You're trying to go out and get a house, you're trying to go get a loan, all that stuff. Like I said, there's other discriminations out there that we could have touched on. And that's one, especially when it comes to what's called like economic empowerment and that piece of our community trying to take back and try to actually do better. We face a lot of hurdles for some of that stuff.
Did you happen to see that Netflix video? They had I forget the name of it, where they would discuss different topics, and Corey Baker was talking about his experience, his parents' experience with owning property and stuff.
Yes. Well, it was in 13, and it was Vox. It was Vox that it's a Vox on YouTube. You can watch it. It's really good.
It's really good, and it also gives you insight into why we're not escalating financially as a group. And part of it is cultural in the sense that when I come up, my whole family comes up and my friends come up too, because I always know some broke people that I'm helping out. But when you've already had the advantage and everybody that, when you come up, they're already up, then you're not spending your money trying to help everybody out, So if you haven't seen it, it's good to Google.
Yeah, it's on Netflix, Vox, VOX. They have a great series of breaking things down. It's the one on Cory Booker. I can't remember the name of it. It's called Explained. Explained is the series. It's on Netflix as well, and I watched all of it. It's really good stuff. Who saw that? I think it was Roland Martin or somebody started out this week or next, the whole Nike thing. And so people were saying, don't go buy Nike shoes, go buy Nike stock. And that piece of, understand this, Nike ain't stupid. I don't know if anybody works for Nike, but Nike ain't stupid. Just like IHOB, like we knew they were not about to go switch all those P's up to B's on those signs from the construction side. That's a lot of money. But it's a marketing ploy to put Colin Kaepernick on the front of it. no, Nike knew that they would take a hit, but they knew we would go out and buy more of their stuff. But imagine if we went to the market, and right now I think the share is only like $83. Imagine if we went, instead of buying $300, you went and bought 3 or 4 shares in Nike. Keep it, you ain't gonna get rich, but keep it and pass it down in your family, pass it down to a friend. Then that way, over time, the more and more you get, it appreciates, all that, compounding interest. That's the piece of something, like you said, of taking back, kind of that piece of, Nike knew that we would go buy shoes. I don't even doubt that the 1 or 2 guys that were on Netflix or on the news burning their shoes, they were probably Nike employees, knowing that it would inflame our community to go out there and buy more. Like there was one on Walmart. It was one point, it was like Walmart and Target, and somebody was saying, don't go buy Target. It was like 2 or 3 Christmases ago, and they were saying, don't go spend at Target. And I said, as far as we know, and it was being passed down, it was like text going out, don't go spend at Target. I don't know if you got that text or something, if you saw that. There were these massive texts that were coming out that were discriminatory. I said, as far as we know, that could have been from a Walmart executive. But we went and did it. We were like, I ain't spending at Target. So understand our purchasing power, the stuff that we have. Famous line from Baby Boy, hate to say it, is that he was like, how many brands you got on, how many names you got on you? It's basically saying you're out there buying up all this stuff. You got on this clothing, you got that clothing, you got that jewelry, you got those shoes. But how much of that actually goes back towards helping you and other people, to achieve more and pool our money together? So yeah, those are different discriminations. We can talk about this all day. Man, shoot. No, but definitely I want to thank everybody. I say continue the conversation. You go to lunch, bring this up to some more people. Everybody wasn't in here. Bring it up to them. Let them know that we got things. Give each other a hug. It's gonna be all right. So thank you so much, guys. Appreciate it.
I got 2 announcements for everybody. First announcement, the Professional Career Expo is open. We got tremendous companies in there that are looking for experienced talent and have jobs open to hire people. So roll through, talk to them, give them your resume, etc. So roll through there 10 to 4. Now would be a good time to go, because they're anxious to talk to some folks. Second announcement, if you are planning to attend the Evening of Excellence tomorrow, we need you to check in on the Eventbrite between now and 1 p.m. So to get to the Eventbrite, you can go to the Nesby Guide, look for Evening of Excellence, click on that, click through to the Evening of Excellence ticket location, check in real quick. It's like a 2 or 3 minute thing. Make sure you reserve your space and your seat at the Evening of Excellence. Do that between now and 1 p.m. today. All right? Thanks.
Thank you so much, guys.
I just sent you a email.
Yes.
I sent him the email.
You need to take your show on the road.
You think so? I literally was out there talking. Actually, I did try to take the. You know what's funny is this inspired me to do this because thank you so much. Yeah, you know what they told me? They don't like controversial topics. Yeah. Yeah. It depends on what city you're in. Charleston they don't because of the whole Charleston 9 and all like that. They don't like a lot of that stuff.
I just sent you an email.
Okay.
Because I'd like to get the
Yeah,
presentation
I was.
as well as the
I will send it to you definitely. Thank you so much. Yeah.
And I'm gonna send
Hopefully.
you a documentary that I saw. It was by I think it was Asian for Indian director,
Mhm.
but it's called White People.
Your white people or white people?
Maybe it was your white people, but it's basically a conversation about white people.
Is it Tim Wise?
From white people and talking to them about